and Clift. People who don't know me, I am a women's empowerment coach. I help women entrepreneurs like you believe in themselves and their value so that you can feel worthy to earn the money and have the success that you deserve to have. And at the same time, making a fabulous living doing what you love. Yes. All right. So the title of my talk today is Supercharge Your Income by Setting Outrageous Goals. Isn't that a cool topic? Yeah. You probably think, what in the heck is she going to talk about? All righty. Well, let me ask you this. How many of you would like to make more money? Right, okay. And how many of you set financial goals, either financially or personally? Believe it or not, very many people do. And there is a reason for that, and I will get into that later on in the talk. Before I do that, I'd kind of like to give you a little bit about my background so you can understand where I came from and why I'm so passionate about what I do. All right. Well, I began my career as a newspaper reporter at a small town newspaper. It wasn't exactly something that I chose passionately, or I really didn't know. In fact, when I graduated from high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do in life. I knew I wasn't ready for the real world. So what did I do? I ran off to college where I felt safe and protected. We called it the Ivory Tower. In fact, I enjoyed the first 2 years. I had a wonderful time making new friends, basically asserting my independence for the first time in my life and developing my personality. But after 2 years, they basically tell you, you really have to declare a major or they're going to ask you to leave, right? So I sort of thought about it and I said, you know what? Well, I really like to write. Maybe I'll get a degree in journalism, right? Okay, so I got a degree in journalism. Well, finding a job was not that easy. In fact, 6 months after I graduated, I was still looking. And so my mother came to me and said, why don't you just get a job? And I looked at her and I said, I didn't go 4 years to college just to get a job. So I stuck to my guns. And shortly after, I did get my first offer. Now, this is kind of rather amusing on how that happened, because I happened to be taking a bath at the time. And when the phone rang, my mother yells at me, Catherine, it's for you. And I yell back, excuse me, I'm in the tub. I'm taking a bath. Well, there's sort of a dead silence for a period of time. And somebody just screams, Catherine, it's about a job. So I got out of the tub, wrap a towel around myself, grab the phone, and start talking to the individual on the other line. Of course, the more I hear about this opportunity, I get really excited, and doggone, that towel just slipped off with me. And we had completely naked. And after I hung up the phone, I thought, I wonder if the guy on the other end knew he was talking to a naked female. It turned out, actually, this particular job turned out to be my ideal job. I was hired as the feature writer, which meant I got to do these wonderful interviews. I got to get a byline. I even got to interview Dear Abby when she came to town. I was feeling really famous. And at the same time, I basically fell in love for the first time in my life. And it was wonderful. He was my ideal man. In fact, I lived right across from the paper, so he would come over at lunchtime. He worked for his brother's hydraulic service, and he would be covered in hydraulic oil. And I'm telling you, that smell of hydraulic oil was the most wonderful thing I've ever smelled in my life. Well, unfortunately, yes, it was a wonderful, I mean, I was never happier. It was a wonderful time in my life until it basically all came to an end. The relationship ended very painfully. My ideal man was 11 and a half years older than I was, and he was not comfortable with the age gap. And due to circumstances beyond my control, again, the relationship ended, and I went into the deepest depression of my life. I wouldn't have taken my life, but I really didn't want, I didn't want to lift a finger to save myself if that happened. It was really, really a dark place for me. And things got even worse at the paper because the society editor got married and decided to leave the paper. And since I was the only female in the newsroom, I got stuck with the position. It was like rubbing salt into an open wound. I just envisioned having our engagement in that paper. It was never going to happen. Well, I was angry and I was bitter, and basically in a fit of anger, I went to the editor and I told him point blank, if you did not take me off that position, I was going to quit. Word of warning. Don't tell your boss you are going to quit in a fit of anger. Because they had my replacement before I even had a job. My next position was again at a small town newspaper, and unfortunately it was even more conservative than the one I left. And because I really hadn't healed from the breakup, I really hated the people, I hated the town, I hated the position. I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. But Providence sort of shined on me. And at that time, and I don't know if anybody you remember, there was a wonderful program on PBS at the time called Cosmos, hosted by Carl Sagan. And he was very inspirational. He inspired me so much. And I'd always wanted to be a scientist. So I did a 360 and I went back to college to get a degree in microbiology. Totally different from journalism, right? Okay. Well, I started really gung-ho and enthusiastic until I hit a very solid brick wall called math phobia. My mind would not do math. It didn't like it in any shape or form. Whether it was chemistry, physics, algebra, you name it, you give it an equation, it was like a deer in the headlights. I don't think so. So even though I made some great progress in the beginning, I ultimately had to give it up and I failed. So I had to look again. What did I want to do with my life? So I decided, I always wanted to work in a lab. So I found medical technology. And the med tech program at IU is the only one associated with the School of Medicine in the entire United States. Now, you have to understand, I'm very good at bookwork. So I excelled in the first part of the program. But when it actually came to doing the practical application, I didn't do so good. In fact, I was actually volunteering in the chem lab in Riley at the time of the program, and I started making mistakes for some reason. So belief in myself and my abilities really went down the tube. So when I actually graduated from the med tech program, I got fired from my first job. Very devastating. My self-esteem was totally destroyed. So I basically turned around and went back to what I really enjoyed, writing. So actually I got a degree. I got a job as a copywriter at a small-time ad agency here in Indianapolis. And it's just 2 doors down from where we are now, Wilson and Davis. And I was there 9 months. And again, I was doing some really creative stuff until they actually brought a kid in fresh out of college at half my salary and gave me the pink slip and said, bye-bye, you're gone. Well, I was angry and betrayed. I didn't know anybody could do that kind of thing to me. It's totally unfair. But again, I didn't want to try anymore. It was like I didn't believe in myself. I didn't believe in my skills. I didn't believe in anything. So what happened? I basically ended up in a call center for the next 25 years. Basically, it's a slave environment where they tell you where to go to lunch, when to go to the bathroom, very controlled. But the good news is, one thing I did find out is I really excel in sales. I was one of their top salespeople. I got all kinds of awards and recognitions, but it was also very, very stressful. In fact, it became so stressful that in the last month, I developed shingles when I was there. And I knew this was a wake-up call. I needed to get out. And the other thing you have to understand about me is that I'm very spiritual. I'm a seeker. I want to know why I'm here, what my purpose is, what's life all about. And my journey led me into something called the Sedona method. And it allows you to let go of any unwanted feeling in the moment. And the more you let go, the happier you become and the more abundance flows to you effortlessly. It is just, and I use it in my coaching. But it was while I was a retreat on the Sedona Method in Sedona, Arizona, that I discovered a career that I did not even know existed, life coaching. And when I asked the individual to describe exactly what life coaching was, I knew she was describing my dream job. In fact, my reaction to her was, and they actually pay you to do that? And so it was shortly after that retreat that I had an opportunity to enroll into a life coach program based on the law of attraction. But I didn't really have the confidence to make a business of it. But the mentor of that particular program was a hypnotherapist. And I was fascinated by hypnotherapy. So I enrolled in that program and got certified. But once again, I just didn't have the confidence to really go out and tell people about it. So then when Margaret Lynch's program, Tapping into Wealth, came along, I knew I had hit gold. This was a way that I could uncover the unconscious blocks and limiting beliefs that would stop people from getting success, just like you. And it was just absolutely amazing. It's like, it so inspired me. It's like I knew that would separate me from all the other kinds of coaches. And that's what I basically want to do for you today. We're going to do a short exercise to see, do you have any money blocks or worthiness blocks? Okay? Does that sound good? All right. All right. So for those of you who did not set a financial goal, you're going to set a financial goal today. All right? Sound good? All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to write down a financial goal. And I'm going to make it clear. I want it to be very clear. It needs to be a goal that's big enough that you can save, invest, and enjoy life. It's not something that you think you can earn. All right. And a good ballpark figure might be $75,000 a year. Now with inflation, that might be $100,000 now, but write down what you think, based on that criteria, what do you think would be that financial goal that you can save, invest, and enjoy life? All right?
You mean for this year?
For the year, yes.
For the year.
A yearly goal.
To
To save, invest, and enjoy life.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Write down that number. And I'm going to ask you 4 questions, and I want you to rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. All right. As you look at that number 1, I want you to say, it's impossible.
It's impossible.
How true is that statement on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 means, yeah, I believe that. It's impossible. I couldn't possibly do that.
How?
Okay, good.
That was my major, was like how, what's the roadmap to
There you go, okay. So do you think those negative feelings might stop you from achieving your goals? Yeah, you think they might, and this is one of the main reasons people do not set goals. They don't like the feelings that come up around them. But I will tell you this, if you don't set a goal, the mind will set one for you. And it is exactly where you are right now financially. And if you don't like it, you can try to change it, but it isn't that easy. And there is a reason for that. That is because you all have what's called a wealth set point. It's all very subconscious. You may not know what it is. In fact, if you're in corporate America, somebody else is controlling your purse strings. You don't know, unless you ask for a raise, maybe. But when you start your own job or get out of your comfort zone, that's when you're going to discover a lot of those subconscious programmings. And that's why the mind will keep you stuck right where you are, because the mind, its job is to help you survive. It doesn't care if you thrive or not. It believes that being rich is dangerous, so it's going to stop you any way it can. You'll procrastinate, you'll self-doubt. Those are the things you're going to do. And that's why I am so passionate about this work. I really don't want to see that happen to you. So let's do something very interesting. So let's see if we might be able to maybe lower those numbers. And what I'm going to do now is we're going to do something, it's a mind-body tool called tapping. Is anybody familiar with it? The emotional freedom technique. And for those of you who don't know, we'll just kind of go over the tapping points. There's one on the inside of the eye, outside, underneath the eye, underneath the nose, the chin, the bra strap, underneath, and on top of the head. And what tapping does is it basically activates the acupressure points and it turns off the fight or flight in your nervous system. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at the that's impossible number, and we're going to see if we can lower that by doing some tapping. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
All right. So it's impossible. It's way too big. I could never make that kind of money. It's impossible. I would feel guilty making that kind of money. I would take something away from somebody else. It's impossible. No way. No how. Why would I ever want to set a goal like that? I could never do it. Nobody makes that kind of money. Well, maybe some people do, but not me. Not in a million years. No, I couldn't do that. I really couldn't do that. No, it's impossible. Absolutely impossible. All right, now take a deep breath. Does anybody feel any lighter?
Negative energy.
Yeah, okay, now we're gonna do more of a positive tapping. All right, so I still think it's impossible. I mean, that goal is so big. But I need to be open to the possibilities. I mean, if I'm open, if I just have a little faith, then those resources are going to come to me. I'm going to have ideas come to me. I'm going to have the people to support me. I need to believe that this is possible. I really want this. I deserve this. I really deserve this. I want the success. I deserve the success. I believe I can do it. I just have to have a little faith. Yes, I can. All right. Now, did anybody's number drop when they did that? Anybody?
Oh, it felt way better than the negative.
What's that?
Like, yeah, it felt way better than the negative energy.
Good,
Like,
good,
you
because
feel
even
better.
if it drops a couple of points, it opens up, it basically frees up your motivation energy. It really, it's, you say, I think I can do that. I really think I can, right? Yeah. Does anybody have any questions about what we just did?
How does it work?
How does what work?
The tapping.
It basically turns off that negative, that fight or flight technique. In other words, it's your fight. When you think about, when you get out of your comfort zone and you think about something you don't think you can do, you may immediately almost have a physical reaction, right? That's your nervous system saying, no, I got to protect you. You know, the mind is saying, you know, the body, go into that fight or flight, that fight or flight kind of thing. Right? Right?
Yeah, you're right.
All right. Yes.
Tap around taking that
It doesn't
exam.
matter whether you can tap on one point, you can tap on one point, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Is it also rewiring or helping with your brain? Because I do know that your thoughts make grooves in your brain, like
Sure, yeah,
positive and negative.
Right.
So like the switching, is it also a mental shift as well? Like, does that make sense?
yeah, right, yeah, exactly, yeah, it does.
I think the positive affirmation stuff, I got that down pat, but what's the science behind the tapping along with the positive affirmation?
It's the acupressure points, it's basically releasing what's in the nervous system.
Okay, so it's just driving it.
You know what acupuncture is when you do the needles, but this is just doing the pressure points. So it really
I
is
don't know if
doing.
I got it right.
No, you're fine. No, you did good. Right.
Yeah, I do positive affirmations a lot.
Yeah.
But I've never done it in conjunction with.
Yeah, it's a very powerful tool to use.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, if anybody would like to take this deeper, I have an opportunity for you. I offer a clarity session, and it's completely complimentary for anybody who's here in this week, during this week. And basically, what we do is, I will focus on you personally for an hour or more, and we will look at your goals, and we will focus on those goals, both short-term and long-term, and what you would like to, and how you would like to feel once you achieve them. I'll also diagnose the biggest obstacles that are stopping you and keeping you stuck. I will also tell you what to focus on in order for you to move forward, and I will tell you what's possible for you based on your skills and your potential. And basically, you will leave the session re-energized, revitalized, and ready to take the right action. So if you're interested in that, please see me after this talk. And we can, because my slots are pretty limited on this, and my time is pretty limited. So again, does anybody have any final questions?
Right here, Dr.
I would just like to make a comment, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I learned that just over the past few months, actually.
What's happening? You mean?
Yeah, I had a hard time initially, but it kind of just, it didn't do, I have a son that's deaf, so I'm like really into the touching. But it kind of puts you into bringing it into your.
It calms you down, and yeah.
And the veterans use it.
And it also clears your mind, because when you're stressed, your mind is, you can't think straight.
It gives you some sort of a little bit of serenity, and the more you begin to be positive about it, it actually catches. But the veterans use it for PTSD.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Prevalent.
I know when I first started writing, this has been years ago, it's like, I had this fear that I was going to have an accident. I think my mind kept saying, you're going to end up like Christopher Reeve. You're going to end up like Christopher Reeve. So it's like, I thought, I love horses. So I had to sit down and I would tap before I would go out to the stable and say, I'm going to be okay. And it was great. I mean, it helped me tremendously to overcome the mind and that fear that I was going to have an accident every time I went out to the stable. So, yeah. Thank you very much.